I remember the storm hitting the street that night. It wasn't just rain or thunder. It was the kind of storm that rattled the windows, the kind that made your bones ache before you even stepped outside. Lightning cracked across the sky, sharp and jagged, illuminating the silhouette of my house at the end of Elmwood Drive. Inside, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the teddy bear. Michael's bear. My brother's bear. It had always been innocent. Soft fur, stitched eyes, a comforting presence when I was a kid. But that night, the eyes, they weren't innocent anymore. They gleamed, reflecting the lightning like tiny shards of red glass. And the air around it felt wrong. Heavy. Charged with something I couldn't name. I wanted to look away. I wanted to convince myself it was just my imagination. But I couldn't. The first sound came softly. A tap tap tap. From the hallway. My heart skipped. I froze. The sound repeated. Tap tap tap. Slow. Deliberate. And it wasn't coming from the walls. It was coming from the floorboards. My legs refused to move, though every instinct screamed at me to run. The teddy bear sat upright on the bed now, its tiny stitched mouth twitching as though it were smiling at something only it could see. I tried to tell myself it was impossible. A toy couldn't move. A toy couldn't breathe. A toy couldn't watch you with intent. But then it tilted its head. Slowly, deliberately. And in that motion, I felt its awareness. Its purpose. My chest tightened. Something had woken in that bear. Something dark. I threw it across the room. It hit the wall with a dull thud. For a moment, I thought maybe I had been imagining it all. But then I heard it. A soft scuffle, like tiny claws dragging against the floor. And there it was, back on the bed. Upright. Watching me. Waiting. I remember the dreams that came after. Blood. Red, thick, clinging to everything. My neighbors screaming, shadows twisting unnaturally, fires consuming entire streets in seconds. And always, the bear. Small, unassuming, grinning, walking through destruction with ease. I woke up drenched in sweat, and sometimes it wasn't sweat at all. I tried to get rid of it. I locked it in the attic. I threw it in the trash. I even burned some old toys, Michael's bear among them, but every time, it returned. Sitting in my room, staring at me. And I realized something I couldn't deny. This was personal. It wasn't just haunting. It wasn't just terror. It was revenge. I thought about Michael. About the accident. About the guilt I'd carried, unspoken, unshared. I remembered leaving him alone that day, ignoring his pleas for help, the way the house seemed to swallow his tiny cries. And now, this bear had come back to collect. Not just from me, but for him. The storm worsened. Rain pounded the roof, lightning split the sky, wind shrieking like something alive. I huddled in the corner, knife in hand, but I knew it wasn't enough. The bear was clever, patient, and utterly merciless. I could hear it moving before I saw it. Soft, deliberate steps across the hallway, like it knew exactly where I would be. My heart raced. I tried to speak, to reason, to whisper into the dark. It's just a toy. It can't hurt me. But it answered with a low, guttural sound, a laugh, almost. And then it was on the bed beside me, staring, waiting, watching. I ran. Through the living room, through the kitchen. I banged on doors, locked them, barricaded myself, but it was everywhere. The air grew colder, my breath visible, and I realized I was not alone. Not ever again. And I knew it wasn't just me. It wanted more. I remember the first blood. My arm, ripped open as it leapt onto me. Tiny claws sharp as razors, teeth that pierced soft flesh with impossible force. Pain, shock, terror blending into one unbearable sensation. And I screamed, and it laughed, it whispered. High-pitched, cruel. You left him, I remember. I tried to run. I stumbled into the basement. Darkness surrounded me, suffocating, pressing against my skin. But it followed. Always. Its presence everywhere. I fell, hitting the cold concrete, knife slipping from my hand. And then understood, it wasn't just hunting me. It was tormenting me. Every moment, every step, every heartbeat. The whispers, the taps, the scuffles, they grew louder. From every corner, from every shadow, the house itself seemed to pulse with life. Toys long forgotten crawled from dark corners. Dolls, stuffed animals, action figures. They moved with purpose. They had a master. And I realized with horror, the bear was calling them, and I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. I ran through the house, dodging, weaving, barely able to think. Every room held another horror, another reminder of my guilt. Blood, twisted toys, shadows that whispered Michael's name. And through it all, that bear followed. Patient, merciless, hungry. I remember climbing the stairs, ribs aching, lungs burning, and the bear leaping at me from the darkness. Its teeth sank into my shoulder. Pain exploded through me like fire. I gasped. I fought. I screamed. But it didn't stop. And I knew then, with certainty, I would not survive unless I outsmarted it. I remembered the fireplace. Flames. Fire. Maybe, just maybe, I could burn it. I dragged it toward the hearth. It struggled. Screeched. Its eyes flared, bright, angry, unholy. I shoved it into the fire. Smoke rose. A horrible shriek filled the air. I thought it was over. But the whisper came again, soft and cruel, from behind me. Revenge never dies, it only waits. I collapsed. Exhausted. Bleeding. Broken. And I realized the truth. The bear was not just a toy. Not just Michael's bear. It was vengeance. It was justice twisted into something monstrous. And it would never forgive. I stayed there for hours, maybe days. Time had no meaning. The storm had passed, but I did not leave the house. I could feel it in the shadows, in the walls, in every corner. Waiting. Patient. Eternal. I learned then, with every ounce of my being, that some toys are never just toys. Some memories never die. And some will come back, unstoppable, unrelenting, to claim the debt you owe them. And that night, as I drifted in a restless, broken sleep, I felt the small weight on my shoulder. I felt its breath. I saw those eyes. And I knew it would never end. I woke to silence. The storm had passed, but the house felt heavier than ever. Every shadow seemed to twitch. Every corner held a presence that wasn't human. My body ached, every wound stinging with fire, every breath a struggle. I thought for a fleeting second that maybe it was over. Maybe the bear was gone. But I knew better. I could feel it. Waiting. Watching. Patient. The first movement caught my eye in the corner of the living room. There it sat, Michael's bear. Its black button eyes glimmered with that same cruel intelligence, its stitched mouth curving into the sickest smile imaginable. And then it moved. Slowly, deliberately, like it had been waiting for me to notice. My heart froze. I knew I had no chance to fight it, but some instinct made me grab a heavy candlestick, my hands trembling as I approached it. It didn't run. It didn't flinch. It only tilted its head, staring at me, and whispered in that impossibly high-pitched, haunting voice. You left him." The words cut deeper than any blade ever could. Michael's fault suddenly wasn't a memory anymore. It was a weapon, sharpened, aimed directly at me. And now, Michael's bear was the instrument. I swung the candlestick, striking it across its tiny body. For a brief moment, it toppled over. Smoke. Flame. No, it scrambled back onto its feet, unscathed. And then it moved faster than I could comprehend. In a blink, it was on my chest, tiny claws digging into my shoulders, teeth slicing through skin, ripping a line of fire-hot pain across my neck. I screamed. Pain, fear, and guilt collided, and I realized the horror was no longer just psychological. It wanted more. It always wanted more. From the corner of my vision, I noticed movement. Small figures, shapes emerging from the darkness. Toys. Every toy I had ever owned, every discarded, forgotten plaything in the house, animated, grotesque, bloody. Dolls with eyes that followed me, stuffed animals dripping crimson, action figures with claws snapping. The bear was calling them, commanding them, leading a legion of horror. I ran, stumbling, dragging my bloodied arms across the floor. I barricaded doors, slammed drawers, smashed windows. But the toys were everywhere. They swarmed, snapping, scratching, biting. My flesh burned wherever they touched me. Panic consumed me, my mind screaming in incoherent terror. And through it all, the bear's voice echoed in my head, constant, cruel. You left him, now everyone pays. I thought of escape. The front door. Maybe outside, maybe the open street. Anything. But when I got there, the world outside had changed. The storm had torn Elmwood Drive apart. Cars overturned. Trees uprooted. The ground slick with blood and rain. And in the distance, I could see shapes moving, shadows darting unnaturally. The bear was not just inside the house. It was everywhere. It had spread. It had become unstoppable. I retreated back into the house, into the basement, my last sanctuary, or so I thought. The stairs groaned under my weight, and when I reached the bottom, the darkness seemed to come alive. The toys waited. They were lined up along the walls, watching, patient, calculating. And then I saw it, Michael's bear, at the center, commanding them all. Its red eyes glowed brighter than ever, and it whispered again, low and terrifying. Revenge is patient and eternal, I fought. I struck at it with broken wood, glass, anything I could grab. But it was impossible. It dodged, attacked, and returned with terrifying precision. Pain exploded across my body. Blood poured from wounds deeper than any I'd ever had. And still, it laughed. High-pitched, cruel, echoing through the walls. Every strike I made was useless. Every attempt to escape was futile. Then I realized the final truth. This wasn't about fear anymore. This wasn't just about punishment. It was about death. Pure, unrelenting, merciless death. And it wasn't stopping with me. The bear had begun its revenge on the entire world. Every person, every creature, every fragment of innocence that had survived, now part of its hunt. I screamed, slamming doors, running through rooms. Blood soaked the floors, walls, everything. My arms burned. My legs trembled. But I couldn't stop. I had to survive. I had to find a way to end it. The fireplace flashed in my mind. Fire. Maybe I could burn it. Maybe I could end this nightmare. I staggered toward it, dragging the bear along. It hissed, screamed, clawed, bit. Smoke rose. Flames licked the walls. The shrieks were unbearable. I thought it was over. But even as the fire consumed it, the voice whispered, soft, cruel, right in my ear, "Revenge never dies, it only waits." I collapsed, broken. My body a ruin of wounds, my mind shattered. I realized then that Michael's bear had become something eternal. Something unstoppable. I would never be safe again. And deep in my soul, I knew it wasn't over. It would always wait, always remember, always return. I live now in terror. Every shadow, every small noise, every soft tap on the floor sends me into panic. The bear will come back. The toys will come back. And when it does, nothing will survive. Because some memories cannot rest. Some guilt cannot fade. And some toys will take their revenge.